Today's guest is the go-to party planner for Hollywood A-listers and members of the royal family. He designs every event following one simple motto, that is, everything and anything is possible.
These are setups with generators and power and temporary electrical installations and maybe pyrotechnics and fireworks and lots of things which could go wrong.
Hello and welcome back to These Three Things, the podcast that asks which person, place and treasured possession have made a profound impact upon your life and why. My guest today is Peregrine Armstrong-Jones. He launched his business, Bentley's Entertainment, in 1984, and since then has been orchestrating and overseeing some of the world's most exquisite parties. He has created absolute magic across all continents, be it for celebrity weddings, bar mitzvahs, banquets, children's birthday parties, and much more. If you're looking for exceptional planning and total originality, this is the man the stars go to. His clients include the Beckhams, Elton John and David Furnish, Elizabeth Hurley and some members of the royal family, all of whom have instructed Peregrine to masterfully make their dream wedding become a reality. Peregrine, lovely to see you. I feel I have to start by making the listener aware. Your events gallery on the Bentley's Entertainment website is a feast for the eyes. You must have visited so many exceptional venues over the past 40 years. Does one stand out to you as perhaps the most memorable place to host a party?
It's a very difficult question to answer, and I can only say that I've narrowed the venues down a little bit. I was in the end probably taken between the event that we created in Mustique in the Caribbean for the Millennium Party, and that was an exceptional venue just because of where it is, of course, in the middle of nowhere, floating around in the Caribbean, under the sunshine with the pale blue waters, etc. And the choice between the two ended up with me selecting St Bart's because of the venues that we worked at. We actually created 2 New Year's Eve parties in St Bart's. The atmosphere that the island has is really very carefree. It has a wonderful, serene feel to it. And it also has an incredible energy because there are planes coming and going and boats coming and going the whole time. But it's an island of peacefulness. And to work there is very easy. There are no blockages. So
Brilliant.
That was my first choice. But I have to say that in third place was Russia, because I have also worked in St. Petersburg and Moscow, and it makes me desperately sad that we're in the situation that we are in, because I think the Russians are fantastic people, and I pray that this all ends and we can all go back to St. Petersburg.
Hear, hear. Wow, how exotic. I mean, to imagine creating a New Year's Eve party in the Caribbean, in a tropical paradise where you're looking up and there's palm trees and coconuts everywhere and a blue sky and absolute serene waters. Can I ask you, what are the things that you look out for when you're putting a party together that absolutely you dread, the very worst happening? Have you been in scenarios where you think nothing else could go wrong?
Okay, so lots of things do go wrong. Of course they do, because that's life. But when one is making the plan, if you like, of what's going to work and what's not going to work, we all have to share this planet with one another. And the thing about a party on a big scale is that, of course, it causes a disturbance to others, or can do. So it's about being considerate to neighbours, and it's about being careful about not rushing in and thinking we're going to have this band and that band and no outdoor covering and DJs and it'll go on till 6 a.m. and so on, without first thinking, okay, what about the neighbours? So islands like St Bart's and Mustique all have to have that borne in mind, because we all know that if you were the owner of a beautiful villa, and suddenly our trucks turned up and put together some kind of a semi-rock concert next to your villa on your holiday, it wouldn't make you all that pleased. So it's about being considerate, and it's about also making sure that everybody's safe. These are setups with generators and power and temporary electrical installations and maybe pyrotechnics and fireworks and lots of things which could go wrong. So usually they don't go wrong, but one has to just be aware of that in this day and age, because all of the technology that we use is so powerful.
And also the weather, I imagine, in so many places when you're in these far remote Caribbean islands, it can turn on a dime and then there you are, stuck in some tropical storm.
Yes, I think the memories everybody has of their holidays, maybe in the Caribbean or anywhere next to the beach, is one of having your bare feet in the sand and thinking of eating on the beach and so on. The reality is, of course, that all of these places do rain, because that's just the way the planet works. And when you're in your lovely hotel by the beach, when it rains, you go inside and you eat in the dining room. But of course, if you're actually setting up something for a lot of guests on the beach or on an island somewhere, yes, you always have to have cover, always, because otherwise it's over, it's ruined.
Well, I'm so glad I managed to catch you today to record These Three Things, because I know what your schedule's like. But perhaps we could start with your person. I would love to hear about the person that's made a profound impact on your life and why.
Yes.
Who did you choose?
We all have role models, and we all have people in our lives who have a profound effect. And they have a profound effect because they have qualities that shine out and that you admire. He's not around anymore, but my half-brother, the former, the late Lord Snowdon, is my choice. And
okay,
I picked him because he was a shining light in a lot of ways. And he devoted his life to being a torchlight for the handicapped and disabled community. I used to share private moments with him, which were often interrupted by telephone calls from his office, where he would have to step out of the room and talk to somebody who was senior in the world of theatre or the railways or public buildings, on the basis that he was determined to give accessible access to the handicapped and disabled community. So that taught me a lot about trying not to think about oneself, which is what shone out from him. He was also a world-class photographer as well, and never stopped working. So a lot of my relations have a fantastic work ethic, which has been handed down by him. And that is something that inherently stays with you if somebody teaches you that. He always taught all of our family that we should stay busy, that we should use our time to the maximum.
How wonderful. I never knew that. That's really very moving to hear. I imagine he was a very persuasive man. And did he succeed in getting corporations to really take on board the importance of creating this access?
Yes, he had great success. When he first started, the railways were run by British Rail, and I think he was public enemy number one to British Rail, because their take on it was that it's a train. It pulls into a platform. There's a step. There are steps up into the station. It's a Victorian building. How do you think that we can make this accessible? Because it's a colossus that can't be changed. And his take on it was that all of these things have to be changed, because there are many people who can't access trains, who should be able to access trains. And just because we're able-bodied, it's not correct that we progress through life at the expense of others who, subject to a few adjustments, could lead the same kind of lives. So that was one thing that he did. He also collaborated with three other inventors, and they invented a motorized tray onto which you could place a chair, and that became a wheelchair. So you didn't have the stigma of sitting in a steel framed chair that makes you possibly look like an invalid. You could put your favorite chair or your kitchen chair or your rocking chair or whatever onto this motorized tray that had a little joystick, and then you could, in comfort, travel around. It was things like that which he came up with, which I thought was very innovative. And then also in the world of entertainment, he never stopped working for the disabled in places like arenas, theatres, public buildings, and even old buildings, even Carnarvon Castle. Of course, there's no access for disabled in a medieval castle, but he was constable of the castle, and he made it his business to make sure that there were ramps, to make sure that there were step-free areas, so that members of the community who couldn't walk could still go and see the beauty of Carnarvon Castle without having to be turned away and find that there were flights of stairs they couldn't manage.
What a pioneer. Absolutely brilliant. May I, for the listener's sake, get Lord Snowdon's full name?
Yes, Antony Armstrong-Jones, first Earl of Snowdon. And he was worked very hard for the country of Wales. He designed the 1969 investiture of the Prince of Wales, and had many other design achievements, including the design of the aviary in London Zoo, which was commissioned in 1958 and still looks futuristic. It's now a listed building.
As brothers, when you would spend time together, whatever age, what was your favourite thing to do?
He was extremely practical, and he really, I think our relationship was based probably around discussing his creations, or his latest projects, or his latest achievements for the disabled and the handicapped. And he was also patron of the British Disabled Water Ski Federation. So we used to take trips down there, and the organisation created these amazing devices, which meant that water skiing wasn't limited to able-bodied athletes. So handicapped athletes could learn how to water ski.
Incredible.
So it's about changing people's lives,
absolutely,
and making things possible.
Yeah. And not hearing the word no.
Exactly.
You know, that's what I get from him, is that he was absolutely not determined not to hear the word no. And because of his creativity and his sense of invention, it was possible. And now so many people are benefiting from that determination.
Yes, exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
How wonderful. What a lovely choice. I'd like to segue into your place, if I may. So that special place somewhere in life that you always return to, where you feel home, where your soul rests and you really can feel yourself.
I have actually chosen the island of St Barts. I, as you know, have a house in North Wales.
Yes.
And that is clearly up there. I'm fortunate enough to have to own a place in Snowdonia, and we all know the impact that Wales has on anybody who is fortunate enough to be able to live there, stay there, visit there. So whilst that is my natural choice, because of the amazing beauty of Wales that everybody admires up close or from afar, but St Barts is a place that I've worked at successfully, and it's always been a happy working moment arriving in St Bart's, and I've made many, many friends there. So it's a place that I dip in and out of, not because I have a house or a home there, but it feels tranquil, and I think there are places in life that are friendly to one.
Yeah.
I think
Quite.
maybe you find that Cardiff is friendly to you, and there are places where you go in life when you arrive and you feel an aura that works. You feel a connection, and you feel that you're working together with that place, and that there's an indescribable connection that you can't really explain to anybody else. But when you leave that place, you say to yourself, I know at some point I'll be back. So that's why I've chosen it. It's a place full of happiness. It's not a place of scale or pretension.
So when you touch down in St Bart's, what is the first thing that if you have a bit of time to yourself and you're not designing a party or looking after clients, what would be your dream day there? How would you spend it? I imagine the people, as you say, are so warm and lack of pretension. I mean, it just feels relaxed already, just imagining it. But yes, if you were to spend your dream day in St Bart's, free from work, how would that look?
So it would be a simple choice. I'm not really someone who likes sunbathing or lying on the beach, but there is a fabulous beach there in Saint-Jean. And to put on a pair of goggles and to wade into the water and then start swimming, after about 20 seconds, the whole underwater world comes alive. And there are hundreds of turtles. There are beautiful little old-fashioned fishing boats bobbing around. And one feels connected with the underwater world and also nature itself all around you. That would be my dream day. Just to do that, it's a simple pleasure of swimming.
I can see it now, and I've just got this sort of vision. We've been watching a lot of Moana in our house of late.
Oh, yes.
My daughter's obsessed with Moana 1 and 2, and so am I. And every time she takes the water, and you start to imagine again, especially at this time of year when you think, God, to be in the Caribbean would be so heavenly. And to know that that marine life is still thriving is just joy in itself, and that you get to swim in it. And as you say, hundreds of turtles.
Yes, there is also a fantastic walk called the Columbus Walk, which is a coastal path, quite rocky and quite difficult to navigate. But it finishes up at the spot where Christopher Columbus landed in his boat on St Bart's. And it's not the kind of Caribbean bay that you'd expect. There are crashing waves. There's plenty of wind. It's not particularly sheltered. It's quite rugged. And it provides a lovely contrast to the rest of the island, which is pale blue water and white sand.
Gorgeous. And I've just got to ask you, if you were to stop for a spot of lunch, where would you head and what would you have?
Okay, so I think it would be, during COVID, I learnt how to cook.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Well done.
Yes. So I would, without question, walk into 2 or 3 of the shops in St Bart's, and I would buy French food, which I would make a picnic with. I couldn't tell you what I'd have because I wouldn't know what they would have in there. But it's not a difficult choice, and we've all been into French delis before, which, although we're catching up in this country, the food in France is light years ahead, as we know. So it wouldn't be a difficult job to make a fantastic picnic and then sit on a rock overlooking the sea, and possibly it would be accompanied by some French rosé.
Perfect. Sounds absolutely ideal. How lovely. Thank you. That was a wonderful choice. I was escaping there to St Bart's Beach. Let me then ask you your final question about your treasured possession, if I may, Peregrine. If you were stripped of all of your belongings and you were allowed to take just one thing with you, what would that be?
Well, again, it's a hard choice, and what a wonderful program this is, because it's so very, very difficult to whittle this down, and you know that because you must have thought many times yourself about what you would keep. And life is such that we surround ourselves with things that evoke memories. And there are lots of things which evoke memories for me. And I whittled it down again to 4 different choices. The final choice that I came up with, and I can't call this necessarily a thing or a possession, but it's my Arab horse.
Wow. Tell me more.
So I was given my Arab horse by Caroline, my wife, who is an avid rider, and she 10 years ago bought her own Arab horse, and she told me that she was on a journey to learn how to ride an Arab horse, and that it was something she felt she wanted to do before it was too late, because they're quite hard to ride. 10 years on, we both went down to see the breeder who was responsible for her Arab horse. And there, standing in the loose box, was this white Arab looking at me. And I tried not to catch his eye, but it was impossible not to. And we spent 48 hours at this stud. And wherever I went, this Arab was staring at me, and our eyes kept meeting. And a week later, he arrived at my house as a gift from my wife. So my life is populated with rides when I'm not working on this Arab horse. And I don't know, you probably are a rider, I'm sure you are.
I do love riding. Yeah, I have since a child, and actually my daughter's now getting into it, but not quite ready to buy her a pony. Can I ask what your horse is called?
Yes, he's called Iyengar, and he was so named
Iyengar.
by the stud, so it's his stud name. And he's a magic carpet. So he comes on holiday with me. I take him up to North Wales, and I ride him in the mountains of Snowdonia, or Wyddfa, as I should call it. And I also take him on the beach, and on a weekly basis, I ride him around the bridle paths in the Chilterns. So he is, it's like floating on air riding him. He lives at home. Before I go to London in the mornings, I see him every day.
You do?
Yes,
right.
Because when I open the front door, he calls for me.
I was going to ask you that very first time, obviously 48 hours of sussing each other out, the new owner. What was that very first time that you got on him like? Was he gentle, or was he putting you through your paces?
No, he was ferocious.
Was he?
Yes, and I lasted about 10 seconds on him. I spent 9 months being hurled 20 feet up in the air and landing on my back. And I went through a process of thinking, will I ever be able to master riding this horse? There were a couple of times that I gave up, and a dear friend invited me and my wife to Africa. And I arrived in Africa, and his stable manager asked me if I'd like to ride. I said, well, I would, but I have lost my confidence. But she put me on a similar horse to my Arab. She said, I'm going to teach you how to ride a difficult horse. So we rode through the bush. We rode up to lions, up to hippos, up to rhinos, through buffalo, and spent a week riding through really very harsh conditions in Africa. And when I got back to Buckinghamshire, I thought, all I have to be frightened of here is a few white lines on the road, and I can deal with that.
And what was the trick? What did this lady teach you about overcoming that, really visceral fear?
Trying to sit deep into the saddle and relax.
Okay.
We all can tell if someone you're with or talking to is tense or uptight. And if you can relax on a horse, then the horse can feel that you're relaxed and confident. If you feel nervous, then that will transmit to the horse.
Sure.
And you stiffen up, which means that the horse then loses his direction. So it's a partnership.
So your relationship now over the years with Iyengar has changed, evolved, and he trusts you and calls for you every morning. Has he thrown you off since, or has he allowed you to be the master?
So since Africa, which was 2 years ago, I'm pleased to say that apart from one incident, when I rode him into a bog by mistake, which I couldn't see, near the summit of Snowdon on the opposite mountain, and he went up to his chin in a bog. So yes, I was catapulted off then, but that was no fault of his. It was because we both parted company. But he is a loving companion, should I say, and we work as a team, and it's thanks to my wife that I have the joy of riding this horse.
And does she have her own Arab horse?
Yes, she has her own Arab horse called Baryshnikov. She's an extremely stylish rider, much better than me. I think I look like a Welsh sack of potatoes on a horse, but I do thoroughly enjoy it nonetheless.
Oh, this has been so enjoyable. Thank you so much, Peregrine. I'm going to say to your dear brother, Antony Armstrong-Jones, and to St Bart's in the Caribbean, and to your fabulous Arab horse, Iyengar, thank you so much for sharing your three things with us today.
Thank you. It was an honour to be asked, Deborah, and our connection with our families go back a long way, and I treasure that, and thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of These Three Things. If you have particularly enjoyed this conversation, please do share it with a friend. Press subscribe or follow on your preferred platform. And if you have an extra minute, a comment or review is greatly appreciated. We release episodes every fortnight, so until next time, thank you and goodbye.